All righty, welcome back to the Right Path to Retirement podcast. All right, it may be a yellow brick road for you. It may be a trip around the world. It may be a trip to the beach. It may be a trip to the recliner. Either way, we want you to have the right path to retirement. And that's what our host, Jimmy Lynn, the president, founder, and certified financial planner at Right Path Wealth Management, is trying to help you do. Get that complimentary consultation or maybe a second look at your portfolio. 702-805-7000. That first meeting can be virtual as you get to know each other. 702-805-7000. Or you can go to Right Path WM, that's short for wealth management, rightpathwm.com. Click the contact button, fill out the form, and get on Jimmy and the team's calendar here. And if you're late doing a mid-year check with your advisor, if you haven't heard from your advisor in more than 6 months, maybe let Jimmy Lynn and the team give you a second look at your retirement plan. Now, last time we were on, Jimmy talked about something that not every firm has, very few have. In fact, it's a tool called Market Guard. It's a non-emotional, methodical, mathematical way to approach the market. All right, learn more about it in our previous episode. We've also talked more recently about what do distinctions like certified financial planner mean, and even what a first meeting with Right Path Wealth Management is like. Find all of those past episodes on Apple and Spotify, even the iHeart app, and also in the media tab at rightpathwm.com. And speaking of media, Jimmy Lynn, you've got a big announcement about the future of this show and more places we can hear it.
We do, Doug. I'm really excited about this. We've worked really hard together, kind of building up the content on the podcast. And so we're taking that next logical step. But we are going to have a radio show in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's I believe July 12th is going to be the first day, the Saturday. It's going to be on 8:40 a.m., the station 8:40 a.m., and it's going to be at 12 p.m. So let's not get that mixed up. All right, the station is 8:40 a.m.
You got to do it. You ready? Say AM 8:40 at 12.
Oh, okay.
So, there you go. All right.
There you go. I appreciate. I get to learn from the pros.
Say AM 8:40 at 12 noon every Saturday, right? That's a Saturday date, I believe.
That's correct.
Saturdays at noon on AM 840 here in Vegas. And so that's a big deal. It's taking the next step, right? And I know, I think you're also working on some TV stuff too. Is that's still in the works, I guess? Or
we are, yeah. In August, we're going to start just filming some TV segments that are going to air locally in Las Vegas as well, with the newscast. So a lot of different ways that we can reach out to the community and let them know who we are. So we're really excited about that because these podcasts have been great. I felt like we're able to cover a lot of topics in a little bit longer form. And so that radio is going to be an extension of that. And then having that TV exposure is just going to allow people to learn more about our firm and what kind of differentiates us from, those big box firms that may not be providing that type of service that we believe every retired needs, a more tax-focused approach. And so yeah, we're really excited about all the media that's coming forth.
Well, for sure. So that station is KXNT AM, News and Talk 840 AM, KXNT AM, News and Talk 840 AM, starting Saturday, July 12th at 12 noon. Now, this podcast came out July 8th, so you may have heard this already after the first episode, but here's the deal. The podcast is going to continue. You can still find it at Apple, Spotify. I just mentioned it, iHeart, the media tab at rightpathwm.com. What we'll do, though, is because this is going to be, it's a 1 hour show, right, Jimmy?
Correct.
So we'll take a segment out of the show. All right. We'll take a big section out of it that's about the same length as these podcasts you've been hearing for the last year or so. And then we'll put that up and it'll come out every Tuesday in podcast world. So
one exciting thing too, Doug, I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe we might be bumping Dave Ramsey show. We might be bumping him out of that slot.
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, so I think we might be bumping out of the slot. I don't know if people are going to be upset about that, or maybe they'll be happy about that. Hopefully, we're a good replacement for that.
Wow, how about that? That's big news. Okay, I mean, you come in, you say, hey, I want that spot. You take it. I like that. So, News Talk 840 KXNT. That is Saturdays at noon, starting July 12th. There, and we'll be on TV a little bit later in the year. Something else too is I will not be following you to radio. This will be my last time helping host the podcast here. So we'll have bit more on different voices you may hear in this later on there. But Jimmy, it's been an honor working with you doing that. And so thank you for, it's been great seeing you just launch this thing and start to grow it. And I love that you're getting to take the next step. So it's been an honor, sir.
Yeah, Doug, we appreciate you. And it reminds me of that quote. So we'll get a little sappy here. Don't be sad that it's over, but be happy that it happened, right? And so that's how I feel about this. So, and you're going to be going on to bigger and better things. More people are going to hear you in the greater Atlanta area.
That's correct.
Right. Yeah. So that's really exciting. And I couldn't be more happy for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll definitely be checking out the show once I know it's out and launched, because I want to hear how that's going there. And that'll get, again, started up on radio on July the 12th. Now, today we're going to talk about sequence of return risk. Last episode, Jimmy, we talked so much about being non-emotional in the market, being mathematical, objective. A lot of times people run into these sequence of return risks, Jimmy, is when the emo button gets pushed, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think sequence of return risk is one of the lesser known risks that people think about in investments and retirement planning, because we all of us know about investment risk, right? You put money in, it could go down. We all know about longevity risk. We have a bucket of money that has to last us a period of time, but with healthcare and the way modern medicine is working, some of us may live to the early hundreds. So there's that longevity risk. There's inflation risk of seeing our dollar becoming devalued and making sure that your dollar can keep up with the cost of goods sold, right? A gallon of milk or going to the gas station. So those are all different type of risks that advisors talk about all the time.
Sure.
The one risk that oftentimes can destroy somebody's retirement plans is sequence of return risks. Right. It's something that we highlight to our clients all the time. So to kind of break it down from its starting point, most of the people that are entering into retirement, they've been able to, diligently save for retirement over a 20, 30, or 40-year period. And when they're saving for retirement in different investment accounts, that's kind of the accumulation phase. And during your accumulation phase, you're just pumping money in. There's not a lot of sequence of return risk at that period of time, because if the markets are down, you're actually buying things at a discount. If your markets are up, well, you're contributing, and there's such a long period of time before you're actually going to start selling these investments or distributing it that markets can go up and down. There's not a whole lot of sequence of return risk. And then you have that distribution phase, which where most of the people listening to this are probably in or nearing, is where you save this bucket of money. Now you have to start distributing that money as an income stream to last the rest of your life. So that's that distribution phase. And at that point, sometimes you got to sell some of your investments in order to create that income stream. Well, the key with sequence of return risk, it typically is that 5-year period before retirement and that 5-year period once you've retired, you're no longer contributing to these investment accounts. During that specific period, really it's right when you retire is the most important piece of it. If the markets don't perform for you in a favorable way, it could significantly impact all of your retirement plans. Because if you think about it, Doug, if you had a period of time where, let's say you have a 5-year period and you have results in your investments where you're like up 20% one year, down 15% one year, then plus 3%, down 10%, you just have a random sequence, right?
Yeah.
If you change that sequence, instead of being up 20% the first year, you're down 20% the first year, but you have the same results year by year. It's just the sequence has changed. If you're not taking any money out of those accounts, then it doesn't matter when you got your gains and when you got your losses. Your net result over that 5-year period is going to be the same because you didn't take any money out, right? So that sequence of when you had the positive years and the negative years does not matter.
Right.
Where it becomes critical is when you retire and you're no longer contributing and you are actually pulling money out of those accounts. That's where it can destroy your retirement plans, because what happens is if you have a negative year and you still have to pull money out, because whether the market is up or down, you still have to buy groceries, right? You still got to put gas in your vehicle. You still got to pay the mortgage. So the bills don't stop just because the market's down.
Right.
So because you're pulling that money out while the market's down, Now all of a sudden you're locking in those losses. So now the sequence becomes critical as you're pulling income. So I'll give you an example of how I highlight this to people, during workshops. Is I kind of like to tell this story. It's kind of like the tale of two retirements, right? And I call them Mr. Lucky and Mr. Unlucky.
Right.
But if you took like a 20-year period of returns from the S&P 500, right? We usually take, from year 2001 to 2020, this 20-year period where we have the historical results of how the S&P 500 performed. And you took two retirees where they both started with $1 million. And every year, each of these retirees is going to be pulling out the same $50,000 as income every single year. So all the information is the same. They started with $1 million. They're taking $50,000 out. And over that 20-year period, the S&P 500, I believe, averaged a little less than 7%. The numbers don't matter because their returns are going to be the same. So we'll just call it a 7% return.
Sure.
Or I think in our scenario, it's like 6.91 average return over 20 years. So same $1 million, same $50,000 coming out every single year's income. And over a 20-year period, their portfolios have the same 6.91 rate of return. The difference between Mr. Lucky and Mr. Unlucky is for Mr. Unlucky, year one started with like a 13% loss, then a 23% loss. So over that 20-year period, Mr. Unlucky ended up with $300,000, right? Now you flip to Mr. Lucky. In year one, he had a 16% gain. Year two, a 29% gain. So the difference between the scenario is Mr. Unlucky had those immediate losses right off the bat while they were taking income out. Mr. Lucky had those immediate gains to their portfolio while they're taking income out. And the difference, Mr. Lucky still had like 1.6 million in this scenario, where Mr. Unlucky over that same 20-year period had $300,000. So there was almost a $1.3 million difference in what the amount of money that they had at the end of that 20-year period. But remember, fact patterns are the same. Same $1 million, same $50,000 coming out, same 6.91 rate of return. The difference was the sequence in which those good returns occurred. And that is one of the biggest risks that retirees face if they do not have a plan going into retirement.
Well, so how do they avoid that risk? If these guys had the proverbial Mr. Unlucky and Lucky had the same, or the difference in their plans, I guess, or were they drawing income out of different buckets? I mean, in this scenario, how do you help people avoid, we can't guarantee, but how do you help people avoid that misfortune that's literally a $1.3 million difference over 20 years?
Well, I love how you're teeing me up, and I hope like my new host can tee me up that way. No, that's a great question. And the first thing is, I mean, and what we offer all of our clients is really, you need a portfolio analysis, right? Because so many times people have come in nearing retirement, they show us their statements and they are invested. They're a few years from retirement. They may even just retired, but they're invested like they were 40 years ago when they first opened up those retirement accounts, right? Because what they probably did was they selected some investment strategies when they first got their employment, and they never changed it.
Right.
And so the amount of risk that they're probably taking going into retirement does not necessarily match the stage in life they're at. So they first want to get that portfolio analysis. And we've talked about those all the time. We offer that on a complimentary basis. If anyone wants to get one of those, they can call our office, 702-805-7000, schedule time, and we can do a portfolio analysis. But they have to know where their starting point is first. And then we always recommend, and why our focus is kind of retirees and pre-retirees is, we've talked about the accumulation phase, the distribution phase. When you're right before retirement, there's something called the preservation phase. And that's where people tend to miss in their planning, is that preservation piece where you have to allocate some dollars that can still grow because there's still inflation risk, right? So you don't want to just, take a bucket of money and put it under a mattress because it's going to erode with value every single day virtually. But you want to have a portion of your portfolio that is kind of insulated from market risk, so that if you do run into a market in retirement that is unfavorable to you during those early years, you don't have to sell at a loss. You can pull from other buckets of money that you've allocated. And that's where planning comes into place, and why somebody may want to switch from maybe an investment advisor that they've been working with for 20, 30 years to someone that really focuses, I should say, in retirement planning and working with people that are going into that next phase of retirement.
If you think about it, I'm going to use a very extreme example that's based on things that are real, but maybe a caricature. But if you think about the movie The Wolf of Wall Street, right? And you got all these financial bros, they're going crazy and riding the market roller coasters up and down and all that stuff. And that's fine if that's what they want to do. If you've got basically a fixed amount of money and you've got, a barge of money that you need to last over a couple, maybe even 3 decades into retirement, and eventually you're going to have long-term living costs and you're going to have to worry about the tax implications of certain things, whichever. Do you want somebody that's riding the train up and down, up and down, up and down, or do you want a steady ship that's moving evenly that could be prepared to withstand loss, but also be there to take some of the gains too? That's why you need to talk to Jimmy Lynn, who really his specialty is in that being on that right path to retirement. Okay, if you have the right plan and in the right phase of life, it can help you be on the right path. So get in touch. That virtual meeting is the first one. Get on the calendar, 702-805-7000, 702-805-7000, or you can go to rightpathdwm.com. Click the contact form, fill that out. Tell them you heard the podcast too, by the way. We'd love that. And then get on Jimmy Lynn's calendar. Well, this, of course, we could go on forever and ever about the sequence of returns, but basically it gets more and more expensive the more stale that dollar is there. So you don't want to miss out on the opportunities, but you don't want to be exposed to too much risk there. So thanks for explaining that, Jimmy.
Absolutely. And anyone that is concerned that they may be exposed to sequence of return risk, again, get on my calendar. We can schedule time to look at that portfolio and kind of help you kind of create a plan that can mitigate this type of risk. Reach out to us, 702-805-7000. And Doug, we appreciate you so much for all the hard work that you've done for us. We're excited for your next journey. So thank you very much for all your hard work.
It has been an honor, Jimmy, and we're so looking forward again. Saturday, the 12th, July 12th, every Saturday at noon on News Talk 840 KXNT. And we've even got this information and a link to the website in the show notes here, so you can remember that. But then these shows will also be available on demand still every single Tuesday now. So be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications. If you know someone who needs to hear this, send them the link. All right, don't keep it all to yourself. And I know they'll more than likely thank you for doing so. He is Jimmy Lynn, and we thank him so much for spending his time today, the president, founder, and certified financial planner at Right Path Wealth Management. Again, get in touch with them, 702-805-7000, or go to rightpathdwm.com. We also thank our producer, Rob Scott, for putting this all together there. We know that he's working on his sequence of return risk right now. After hearing that, he's like, wait a second, I got to stop producing this and make sure my portfolio is okay. So we thank Rob for that, and we thank all of you for listening. For Jimmy Lynn, I'm Doug Turnbull. Thank you so much for listening to the Right Path to Retirement podcast. And hey, Jimmy, I'll see you on the radio. Take care.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management.